What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Vault, where today we're counting down 20 crazy facts about The Perfect Storm, the disaster epic based on one of the most heartbreaking true stories that was ever brought to the big screen. From unbelievable behind-the-scenes challenges and special effects to shocking casting decisions, real-life inspirations, and surprising details that never made the headlines, there's more to this movie than most fans realize. Number 20. Back in 1991, Sebastian Junger was a 29-year-old tree climber trying to make ends meet while chasing a freelance writing career that wasn't taking off. One day, while topping an 80-foot pine tree with a running chainsaw, he slipped, and the saw slashed the back of his leg, almost exposing his Achilles tendon. Hanging from the rope, hurt and looking at the cut, he realized how lucky it was that it didn't end up worse, and the moment made him stay on the ground for a while, giving him time to think. During his recovery, a sword fishing boat called the Andrea Gale went missing far out at sea during a huge storm, and he couldn't stop thinking about it. He'd already been thinking about writing stories about dangerous jobs, and this sad event gave him a powerful idea. He started writing a short article called The Storm, and that got noticed, and he decided to turn it into a full book in 1997 that later became the famous movie that we know today. Number 19. The casting had some twists and turns before it came together. The director Wolfgang Petersen had his eye on big names for the role of Billy Tyne. His first pick would be Harrison Ford, however Ford did not want the role. Then he turned to Mel Gibson, but his salary demands were way out of the film's budget, and things seemed to be uncertain. George Clooney then came into the picture. It would be his second time working with Mark Wahlberg following their film Three Kings, and while the captain's role wasn't his straight away, Clooney ultimately became the perfect fit. He had first lobbied to play the younger deckhand of Bobby Shatford, but Petersen insisted that his presence belonged in the captain's chair. Mark Wahlberg as Bobby Shatford wasn't nearly as complicated. Wahlberg was a natural choice for the role. Being a Boston area native gave him the perfect edge, and his accent was spot on without any extra effort. Clooney had suggested Wahlberg, which made the decision even easier. In fact, Clooney had flat out refused to try a Boston accent, leaving Wahlberg to fully own that authentic touch. I know you're enjoying this video, so go and check out some of our others. Feel free to subscribe to the channel because it's the best way to keep these movie breakdowns coming.
I want my boat back.
I want to catch some fish. It's what I do.
Not lately.
When you yank my sight, you go ahead.
Number 18. Before George Clooney was locked into the captain's chair, Nicolas Cage was courted for the lead role and turned it down. At one point, he was even attached to play the young Bobby Shatford before then backing out over commitments. Ben Affleck was in the mix, and Mel Gibson's name came up as well, but his reported asking price was around $25 million and more than the production wanted to spend. One ironic footnote is that summer, The Patriot opened the very same weekend as The Perfect Storm, and the two went head-to-head at the box office. Gibson's film came in second. The star, who was deemed to be too expensive for The Storm, ended up losing it anyway.
Take the wheel! Get the gun! Take the goddamn wheel! That's an order!
Number 17. Petersen's big break came with Das Boot in 1981, a tense story about life inside of a German submarine during the war. The film became legendary, earning 2 Academy Award nominations, one for directing and the other for adapted screenplay. It's seen as one of the greatest war movies of all time, and no one else could capture that kind of fear and danger, trapping viewers inside of a vessel with no escape and an uncertain fate. The skill made him the perfect choice for The Perfect Storm. While it wasn't set underwater, it shares the same feeling and story of men facing doom in a metal shell. Instead of being trapped below the waves, the characters were battling for survival just above them. The connection between the two films shows why Petersen's work still holds so much power. Number 16. The brutal filming experience of James Cameron's The Abyss in 1989 left a long-lasting impact on Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. The underwater scenes were so challenging, she decided she'd never work on a movie with water again. She wanted nothing to do with tanks, wetsuits, or the endless challenge of filming in water. But then came Wolfgang Petersen with the perfect storm. He wanted her to play Linda Greenlaw, the skilled captain of the fishing boat, and Petersen had a clever solution to convince her. He promised her that every single scene she did would be on land. There would be no tanks or water and definitely no getting wet, and with that assurance she agreed. It's why, despite playing a fishing boat captain, she'd never stepped into water even once during the entire production.
Billy, can you hear me? You're headed right for the middle of the monster!
Number 15. The room was no ordinary set. Mark Wahlberg stayed in the actual bedroom where Bobby Shatford once lived. The room is located above the Crow's Nest bar and belonged to Bobby's mother, Ethel Shatford. But Wahlberg didn't just treat it like a quick visit or a hotel stay. He actually lived there, and day after day he immersed himself in the space. One night he took it a step further, working the door at the Crow's Nest and carding customers as they entered. Each one of these details would be part of his preparation. It was all about getting into the character and blurring the line between the real and the real. Number 14. The storm scene was an unforgettable cinematic feat. Wolfgang Petersen chose Warner Brothers Stage 16 for the intense sequence, and this is the same stage where Spencer Tracy's The Old Man and the Sea was filmed many years ago. The crew dug deeper into the floor, expanding the water tank to an incredible depth of 22 feet, and at the time it made it the largest soundstage water tank in the entire world. Inside of the tank sat a full-sized replica of the Andrea Gale. The boat weighed a staggering 150,000 pounds and was mounted on a 6-axis hydraulic gimbal that could move it any way you would want. With a turntable that spun at 360 degrees, they could simulate the most violent waves and howling winds. Special effects supervisor John Fraser explained that Warner Brothers picked their largest stage and cut the tank right into the floor to pull the wild effect. Number 13. Those waves may look terrifying, but you cannot create waves like that in a tank. The special effects supervisor didn't beat around the bush, saying it wasn't possible. The machines in the tank could only make waves around 4 feet high. The epic ship-swallowing walls of water you see in the movie are all digital magic. Using real meteorological data, Industrial Light and Magic created the monstrous waves on computers, making every single one of them look shockingly real. Despite it all, some of the most intense scenes were not real at all. The crew did not rely entirely on CGI. Actors were blasted with powerful water hoses, and huge tanks above them dumped water over the set to simulate the chaos of a stormy sea. This mixture of real effects and computer graphics made everything look so real, it's hard to believe the giant waves were not actually there. Number 12. The Coast Guard cutter scene may look high-tech, but Fraser did not use any fancy gimbals or complicated machinery. He hung the entire set piece from 2 cranes and made it sway in the water. The setup was as simple as it was genius, but the roaring fans and crashing water made it impossible for crane operators to hear the directions. Fraser didn't give up. He climbed up and used his arms to signal them like a deck officer would to guide an aircraft to land. After 2 takes, something funny happened. Someone handed Fraser a baton, and he said he looked like he was conducting an orchestra. The comparison would be spot on, but the results were even better. The director could not believe how incredible the shot turned out. It was raw, real, and stunning. Number 11. The director made a decision that shocked everyone. He wasn't going to allow any real fish to be used. Being an animal rights supporter, he stood firm on his principles, and the choice meant they had to get creative. That's where Walt Conti's Edge Innovations came in. Known for crafting lifelike creatures for films like Deep Blue Sea and Anaconda, they built something extraordinary for the project, creating 4 stunning animatronic swordfish and about 100 synthetic models. Every fish you see on screen was either rubber or a robot. The production would be certified by the American Humane Association, and that meant no animals were harmed in the making of the film. Every fish hauled out of the Atlantic might look real, but it's just a piece of movie magic that leaves the audience amazed. Number 10. Filmmakers went to extreme lengths to capture the storm's intensity, and for opening scenes they did not use a controlled tank or a simulation. They ventured out into the open ocean for 3 daring days, but it wasn't your average day at sea. The crew was sailing at the edge of a real storm. It was Hurricane Floyd, and the massive hurricane was tearing up the East Coast in September of '99, and so they headed straight toward its outer edge to film. The team wanted authenticity, and they got it, and to show the storm building, they went where most would want to escape. The power of nature combined with their bold decision resulted in footage that truly captures the raw force of the ocean. Number 9. Instead of relying on special effects or a stunt double, George Clooney took things to the next level. He spent about 3 weeks learning how to pilot the Andrea Gale, a 72-foot commercial fishing boat. He even ventured out on open water at night to truly understand the craft. That dedication spread throughout the entire cast. The 2 actors portraying jumpers actually completed a real training program in Arizona and learned how to be hoisted from the water on a helicopter harness and mastered working under night vision goggles. Everyone put themselves in the shoes of the professionals they portrayed. Number 8. The Air National Guard helicopter that ditches in the film wasn't invented for the screen. October 30th of 1991, an HH-60 Pavehawk from the 106th Rescue Wing, based out of West Hampton Beach, New York, flew hundreds of miles into the storm system to reach a sinking sailboat. When repeated mid-air refueling attempts failed in screaming winds, the 5-man crew would be forced to ditch into towering seas, and all but one of the crew would be pulled out of the water by the Coast Guard. Pararescue jumper Rick Smith was never found, and the movie compresses and reshapes what really happened. The crew was actually sent after a stranded sailor, not the Andrea Gale, but the loss at the heart of that sequence was real.
Go, Josie, go! Orange is your next!
Number 7. The heartbeat that you hear during the emotional funeral speech was not something that was planned, and not the work of sound designers or a clever effect. During the memorial scene near the film's end, Mary's actual heart was captured on the microphone. It was her real pulse, and she was so engrossed in delivering her lines with raw emotion that the mic picked up the subtle rhythm of her heartbeat beneath her voice. When the director heard it, he made a surprising decision, and instead of removing the sound, he chose to keep it in the final cut. He said it added a level of realism that nobody could have predicted. The steady beat that you feel during the speech is not only acting, it's her actual heart.
Bugsy, Sully, and Alfred Peter. Sleep well.
Number 6. The doomed, unlucky, and loved deckhand Bugsy Moran became the role that changed John Hawkes' life forever. For over a decade, he had struggled through small and unnoticed roles, waiting for his big moment, and when he was cast in The Perfect Storm, he knew he had to make every second count. The night before the screen test for the bar scene, he and Rusty Schwimmer, who played Big Red, headed to a real bar and rehearsed. The goal was to make the scene feel so real that no one watching would guess they were acting. The commitment paid off when the movie hit theaters, and it caught everyone's attention. A role that he had auditioned for months earlier and heard nothing back on suddenly became knocking again, and it was all thanks to his performance as Bugsy. Hawkes was quickly offered the part, and the moment would be the turning point in his career, leading to bigger opportunities, including an Academy Award nomination later for Winter's Bone. Number 5. The movie's soundtrack holds a special connection to another famous shipwreck. The composer James Horner had just finished working on Titanic when he created the score for this film. He built the music around a 6-note pattern that captured the powerful swelling waves of the North Atlantic. The haunting melody runs like a thread throughout the movie, strengthening the emotional pull of the story. For the end credits, he collaborated with John Mellencamp and George Green to create the song Yours Forever. Mellencamp was not just a contributor, he lent his voice by singing on the track, and it marked Horner's first time working with director Wolfgang Petersen, who hoped that the magic of Titanic would flow into this tale of the doomed ship and his crew. Number 4. William Fichtner represents Sully on screen, but Sully in real life was not a hot-headed troublemaker. The choice upset his real-life family, and his sister spoke out about how different that her brother truly was. According to her, Sully was not the angry, unpredictable man portrayed on the screen, but instead was known for his humor, kindness, and loud, unforgettable laugh. He was a man with a huge heart, and far from being a villain, He actually was a hero in real life. One winter night, he proved his bravery in a way that few could imagine. He was on another boat when it started to take on water. Without hesitation, he plunged into the freezing ocean, fighting against the waves, and pulled himself along the mooring ropes, hand over hand, to alert the crew of a nearby boat that was tied up alongside. Thanks to his quick thinking and courage, the sleeping men on board were all saved.
I'll head for land and the newfies will throw you both in jail!
Number 3. The night before the terrifying storm would claim the Andrea Gale, Billy Tyne made a radio call that still haunts those who remember it. The famous sounding line is not what he really said. His last verified contact was an ordinary radio exchange with fellow Captain Linda Greenlaw about the weather and the fishing, and he told her the weather was rough and she probably wouldn't be setting her gear the next night. The radio went silent for good. Greenlaw has since said the real conversation was far less cinematic than the movie makes it out to be, and what happened next would be a mystery lost to the waves. Many details shown in the film do not happen the way they were portrayed. For example, the story of Tyne having a poor catch and being criticized for losing his touch was exaggerated. On his earlier trips, the real Tyne was a highly successful captain, so the humiliating cold streak was largely invented for drama. Even Linda Greenlaw, an experienced captain and friend of Tyne, found herself misplaced in the movie story. In real life, she was the last person to speak with the Gale on that routine call, and not the source of a frantic distress radio, the way the film frames her. By the time the storm had peaked, her own boat, the Hannah Bowden, was well clear of Gale's position, yet the detail that affects most people isn't the dramatic scenes made up for the movie, it's Billy Tyne's final radio message. His words were calm and simple, showing the kind of leader that he really was. Number 2. Billy Tyne was portrayed as an almost Ahab-like captain, but not everyone agrees with how the film showed him. His family, along with the family of crew member Dale Murphy, was not happy. They believed Warner Brothers made Tyne look reckless, a man who had risked the lives of his crew just to save his valuable catch. Their lawyer argued that the studio knew this wasn't true, but still went ahead with the portrayal. Families were hurt and decided to take legal action. The lawsuit had claimed the filmmakers crossed a line, painting a picture of Tyne that did not match the real man behind the tragic story. On the other hand, Warner Brothers had a defense ready and pointed out the disclaimer at the beginning of the movie, which said some events and characters were fictionalized for storytelling purposes. They also leaned on the First Amendment, arguing their right to creative freedom. The battle went all the way to the Florida Supreme Court, and in 2005, the court ruled in favor of Warner Brothers, holding the film was a protected expressive work and not the kind of commercial misappropriation the families claim it relied on. Number 1. The phrase "the perfect storm" was not common until the book came out. The term came from a meteorologist describing a rare mixture of weather events. The destruction was extreme, and the words "the perfect storm" stuck. Now people use the phrase to describe any bad combination of events, not just the weather. The impact doesn't end there. The book and the film that followed lit a fire under the public's curiosity about the dangerous world of commercial fishing, and the spark carried forward into shows like The Deadliest Catch and other stories about the perils of life at sea. The book alone sold over 5 million copies, and the tree climber with slipping chainsaw played a role in changing how we talk about a catastrophe forever. Now be sure to smash that like button since I know you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe so that you know every time we upload another video like this one. If you have any recommendations, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.